Welcome to Mediumship Sparks, where we connect more deeply with spirit and source and follow the sparks of insight and inspiration that bring us greater awareness, healing, and just more flow into our lives. I'm Noelle Dean, intuitive medium, licensed therapist, and your host. A quick note before we begin: this podcast is for educational purposes only and provides general information. It is not medical or psychological advice and is not a substitute for care from a licensed health professional. I'm so grateful we get to step into this. Hi, this is Noelle. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Mediumship Sparks, the next chapter. I'm sharing a video with you that was recorded in April of 2023, and it was a conversation that I had with a friend. I met Jocelyn about 2 years prior to recording. She is the daughter of a neighbor of mine who had mentioned to me in passing about Jocelyn's daughter, Empath Alert, being hit by a drunk driver and passing away in January of 2021. She had just turned 30. She was a beautiful human being and a young woman and was extremely close to her family and especially her mom, Jocelyn. I offered a mediumship reading to try to be supportive or helpful. And you never know when you do that what somebody else's belief system is, or if they'll want to take you up on this, or what benefit it might actually have. But it really felt right to offer. Jocelyn was in town a little while later and took me up on that offer. It was an interesting mediumship reading because it was a little bit hard to get a flow going with her daughter, Trish. And I'm sure a part of that was that Jocelyn was just nervous. I really can't imagine, and maybe you can, maybe you can't, how devastating that situation was and how hard it was for her to just every day go on living with the pain of what had happened and the lack of future that she felt about somebody she cherished as much as she cherished Trish. And I have so much respect for Jocelyn because the pain and grief she was walking through was enormous, and she has always been very generous about sharing what that's like so that other people might benefit from hearing what she's doing, because she does a lot to support herself. Jocelyn is one of the inspirations for me teaching mediumship because it was so unnecessarily tragic to have somebody who was in such pain not be able to connect with their loved one, but it was easy for me. And after that, I was like, screw this. I have to teach people how to do this. I'm not the best medium. I'm not the worst medium, but I can do this and I can teach it if I can do it. And Jocelyn participated in my first mediumship class, and then she co-facilitated the next 2 classes with me to support the people who were dealing with their own grief and also just learning a new skill. I should add that she had never thought about doing mediumship beforehand. She's intuitive and very empathic, but mediumship opened up a whole new world for her. Jocelyn was really looking to find ways to stay connected with her daughter. And as we all know, the heaviness of grief can make that very, very difficult. And so it was a really productive conversation about just the various things that she was doing for herself to keep herself grounded, keep herself present in the moment, and to be able to connect with her daughter. I think it's not just about grief, it's just about energy management. And I can imagine anybody who deals with even mental health issues like depression having a real struggle with energy management, whether you're dealing with grief or just any of life's challenges that can really make it feel like it's dragging your energy down. I hope you benefit from this episode in hearing all of the wisdom that Jocelyn shares about her sort of dance with the waves of grief and how that affects her. My 1-minute disclaimer that the information presented in the podcast is educational in nature and is provided only as general information and is not medical or psychological advice, nor is it a substitute for seeking licensed healthcare services. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Jocelyn. So this is Noelle and
Jocelyn Merhab, hello.
Hello. And we're going to talk about energy.
Okay.
So we talked a bit in the classes about energy and needing to protect ourselves. Most of us in the class, this would be empaths. And all right, I'll just say it how I'm getting it, that I guess we're supposed to look at it. It would be helpful to have a web of protection around ourselves. So it doesn't have to be this impermeable shield, although there might be times when that might feel appropriate. But an energy fluctuates a lot. So there are days when all of us we just feel like we have a low amount of energy. We might also feel like the energy we have actually has a low, heavy vibration, like the energy of grief can be. Do you want to describe what the energy of grief can feel like?
Yeah, it's very heavy. It can just feel like it's weighing you down. And it just feels like it's ripping everything that's inside of you out. And it leaves you feeling a little bit, while you're feeling like a heavyweight, you're also feeling like hollow because it's so confusing and it takes away everything that you've ever believed in. So it just leaves you in this kind of a shattered state where you just feel like you've fallen apart. And it just weighs down on your whole entire body, your attitude, your mood, your appetite, your disposition, your interaction with other people. For me, it makes me also move into a shell of protection to wait it out. It's tough.
Thank you for describing that so well and beautifully for what it is and how it affects you. Now, being in the throes of very intense grief, somebody very close to you crossing over somewhat recently, and I don't even know what somewhat recently actually means. You may feel differently in 5 years than you felt over the last two, but we want to distinguish that because if you want to, so here's a question for you. I guess we're supposed to talk about this. Not what I was thinking we'd talk about.
Yeah.
But so here's a question, Jocelyn, for you, if it's okay to share, is so in dealing with the energy of grief that you've had intensely for 2 years, how are you still able to be reached or reach your daughter who's in spirit? Because it's been my impression that heaviness of the grief is a real barrier to that. Is there something you have to do to make that accessible for yourself?
Yeah, you're right. It is a huge barrier, especially when you find yourself in a situation like you've heard people say grief comes in waves. And that's a good way to describe it because there are some days where if you've ever been crushed by a wave, and we have lived by the ocean. So I like literally have been crushed by a wave and you're eating sand and water and seaweed and feel like you're going to go into a pillar under the pier or something like that. So that's when the real heavy storm comes in. And one of the quotes that I heard earlier in this was, if the ocean can calm itself, so can I. And then one of the things through our practice of what we've been doing and talking about energy work and working with that, I know that I have to be calm so that I can hear the communication from Trish. I can hear the communication from my higher self and people on the other side. So it's a bit of a conflict, like an oxymoron, because you are like wanting just to scream and yell and tear your skin and your eyeballs out. And over here, it's saying, but to get to where you need so that you can communicate, you must be calm. You must be open to receive. You must work on your breath work and breathing so that you can bring it in. And sometimes that's really difficult to do. So on days that I am calm, like today, then I can hear messages. On days that even when I'm just folding clothes or doing chores, and I'll have some kind of binaural beats on or something like that, or Tibetan bowls, those kind of things help me to calm down. And meditation every day, they just help me to calm down. And sometimes, and that works to answer your question, but sometimes even with meditation, I could be under that wave as a metaphor and not be able to not pop my head up for a while. It takes a while. So yeah, but once the calm waters comes in, you calm your heart, you calm your breath, and you just like connect, stay still and connect as we do in sitting in the silence with the earth, Mother Earth, and the higher powers. You start to feel that protection that you're talking about. And then you feel like you're supported. And you don't have to be so frantic and upset. You can calm down and just listen to what you need to hear. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. And there's something that I'd like to distinguish. So you're talking about calming down, which I totally get, because when I'm doing mediumship, I have to be very relaxed, or even in intuitive reading, but any of that kind of connecting or being plugged in, that's the biggest thing, I think, is just staying as calm and relaxed as possible. And then stuff just floats in so easily. It feels like there's actually two things. So there's being calm, but then there's also raising your vibration. I don't know, if you're calm and not in the energy of grief, your vibration will naturally buoy up a bit. We're sticking with water here.
Yeah. Yes. But and the work does have to be done. You can be calm.
Yeah.
And I guess you could just be sitting and staring and daydreaming into space, but actively working on bringing your energy level up, like you said, actively working on your meditations that are cleansing your chakras and things like that does help, and that does bring your vibration up. And then getting out in nature, that's one that I always have to do. Hug my mother-daughter tree in the backyard, the garden that we built for her, because our family was really into nature. That's also a place where I can sit and meditate and or just be quiet and be calm. And I start to feel messages. I start to feel more connected into knowing where Trish is and that she's here, still right here with me. So yeah, you have to be in a space where you can raise those vibrational levels up to be able to feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting to notice energy. There are days when and I had one recently where, gosh, it not like I had a lot of energy, although I did, but the energy itself felt so amped up. Like the energy was so high. My mood was like, is a little bit manic feeling. If I know what I'm making up that, yes. I know how it actually feels. But so I hear you about binaural beats and other kinds of meditation things that can tune us into, if you're releasing the intensity of the grief and just trying to be tuned into the flow of energy around you. I could see how that's going to raise your vibration if we look at it visually, the heaviness, and then lifting some of the heaviness, doing things to connect with, let's say, your guides or just plugging into the universe can bring your vibration up. And its vibration and energy level are different. You can be tired, but have a pretty high vibration going. So that also is two separate things. And I love that you're talking about being out in nature. You do a lot of meditations from Insight Timer, which you're a big advocate of, because they have all kinds of like sound baths and healing music. And I listened recently to some chanting that was really nice. And I was listening, and you mentioned about the singing bowls. There's a lot of different options of what might work for you that day and in that moment that may not the next day. So being open to experiment. Some people need to be around water and like a body of water. Yeah, I actually was swimming in the pool today and some information was coming and I was like, all right, that's nice. So I think being in the water, but also I'm not listening to anything else. It's just me and my thoughts. So just not staying busy and occupied all the time can work wonders for all of us. Music can be a huge, I use a lot of music. I get music as messages, but that's not the kind I don't feel like that is meant to necessarily help my vibration. That's usually information. But if I hear a song, in that moment, I just play that song, assuming there's something about this song that will positively impact my ability to ground how I'm supposed to for what I'm about to do. But just in general, I notice that my mood is affected if I haven't listened to music in a couple of days.
And I can agree with you there. And I haven't studied a lot about the vibrational stuff, the music, but I do know that I can put on a certain healing bath. And if it may just settle in with me right where I'm vibrating or vibing, or it may be too low or too high and it hurts my ears and I have to turn it off. Not literally hurt, but it's, I can't take that. And then I have to turn it off. But yeah, music is definitely one that I use to calm myself down, especially if I'm in a storm of grief and I have to go somewhere or see someone. I'll put the music on. But of course, you have to watch what songs, because I put the music on too, and it can make me feel sadder.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful of what I listen to. But the water, like you were saying, ocean, after living for a month right on the ocean last year, I could tell that the sunrises and the moon and the pull of the tide, I could really feel that lifting a lot of grief. And I guess bringing my energy level up with the sunshine for sure.
I didn't think about that actually. Some people, and I think it's interesting how we all have our own idiosyncrasies about the things that we feel a connection to or not. If somebody feels a connection to the moon, or especially to the sun, or when it's not sunny out, I would follow that as a clue of what actually really supports you. Like, I've never seen myself as a nature person because, full disclosure, I'm a bit too paranoid to be out in nature unless I'm got my husband with me, or I feel protected. I just feel vulnerable. I'm just afraid of people, not the nature part. But so I wouldn't be relaxed if I was necessarily in nature. But time alone, like in solitude, quiet time, and I hear you. I just want to go back to the music for a moment. There are times, like if I hear a song and I'm about to start grounding and I hear it, I'll actually just put that song on repeat. There are times when I've left that song on repeat for hours because I'm doing some kind of work and it fades into the background, but it just keeps feeling like it's the right, and I'll know it's still right because then as soon as I turn it off, I start hearing it in my head again. I stick with that. Yeah. Also, time with animals can be really healing and balancing in some ways. My cat is convinced that if she sits on my lap,
yes,
we're not watching TV because she finds that upsetting, that will balance at least one of us. It might just be her. But dogs are known to help. They have a high vibration and really share that well.
Yeah, I started doing these meditations with a woman on Insight Timer who does medicine work with people and with animals, and all different types of animals. And I haven't been able to make them. They're usually lives. And I haven't been able to make them recently. But my massage therapist, Ellie, has a dog who loves me, and I've known him since he was a puppy, and she's trained him to be an emotional support dog there in her home for her clients who come in. But it doesn't work with everyone because some people don't like dogs and some people don't like cats. Anyway, since I lost my daughter, we lost her two dogs at the same time, her pets that were like our family members. And so sometimes when I'm around these animals, and I'm not one to have them licking in my face and everything, I don't like that. But anyways, but I feel them coming towards me, and I feel a real connection with Ziggy and Cuddy when the animals come towards me, when they look at me, any animal with their eyes, they look at you. And so then now I have a real connection with George, whereas he even lays on the massage table with me when I'm getting a massage and lays down and sleeps with me. So I told Ellie she has to get a bigger one now, like instead of a twin, she has to get like a queen size so George can join us for massages. But no, there's been some days that I've gone for my massage and just heavy grief and crying before I get there. And I know that's a safe place that I can go and cry all the way in my car and get there. And then George will come in before I go change, and he just pulls it away. So the animals are amazing.
Oh, love that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know cats have a particular reputation, but some of us also know that cats they do participate in healing. And there are times when my cat Tiger, who passed, might have even been a year ago today, actually, was my emotional support animal and would come around a lot. And he would sit on the back of my chair during classes and meetings and all kinds of stuff all the time when he was feeling well. And Cupcake has taken over at times. And it's interesting to notice there's plenty of other places for her to sleep in our home, but there are particular times when she just shows up, like I'm about to start a meeting or a group or a reading, and suddenly she's there. And she wasn't there before, and I didn't call her in, and it's not always a usual time that she would be mooching around for food or something. She just sits in here very quietly. It's just interesting to notice that she picks up on things.
She just knows that you need the extra support.
Yeah. Love all of that. Some people talk about the energy of gratitude can raise our vibration, which only makes sense because we're really thinking about positive things in our lives. Even
Right.
thinking about or listening to positive stories can be really helpful. I used to go to a development circle 200 years ago, and how we started actually was people would share, quote, angel stories, which was basically just about synchronicities,
Right.
but all positive stories about things. And it really did feel like it raised the vibration of everybody in the room, including the room. So that's another thing.
Oh, I love that. I think you talked about that a little bit earlier, just getting the vibrations off of each other when we're in a situation of gratitude. And last week in class, I did a gratitude, a magic kindness, but not the same exact one. But prior to that, though, it was like we were all vibing on the same energy level. I have been riding out that energy wave from class last Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've just been maintaining this high vibrational level. And yeah, and I heard from one other class member, and I think she's feeling the same way. So that feeling that we get from each other, and I think we all came in that day with a sense of gratitude, and just the class just went well. Everything was just clicking like a motor. Sometimes things just click right into place, and then sometimes you're missing, even in your marriage or your relationship with your family or whatever. And we were all just clicking right into place last Thursday night. That was good.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering, there's a few other things that we just wanted to bring up about what can bring in good energy. Cleaning up your space where you sit, getting rid of some kind of clutter, and also calling our energies back to ourselves. But I want to write
and I think
question down.
You were talking about also pulling negative energy away and
Yeah.
just being in the space for our higher good. This morning I was doing some packing, and I didn't have time to just listen to guided meditations, so I put on just some chanting music, and it was by a couple that I haven't really listened to before. And some of it was, they had the didgeridoo and some other things. It sounded really weird a couple of times. And all I said was, this has to be for my highest good. Because why did I pick that? We pick things for a reason. It's attracting us to it. And have one other couple that's a husband and wife, and they're wonderful. So I said, let me try these guys. And then when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, I don't know. It just has to be for my highest good. And it was just this really weird didgeridoo sound. But yeah, I just stuck with it. And I just kept cleaning and packing and just knowing that it's for my highest good. And so then I listened to another one of their soundtracks afterwards, which was a chanting one. And yeah, and I was like, okay, I found some new people to listen to.
Now, did you find these people on Insight Timer?
Yes. Yeah. I put sound bath healing in my search. So while I can just listen to that and just be healed while I pack and do laundry. Yeah.
Very nice. I just want to point out to you, if you haven't noticed, Jocelyn, because you're probably looking at me on the screen and I'm on the monitor, and I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
And your color scheme keeps the hues of it keep changing, which is a sign that Trish is around. So just want to say hi to Trish while she's here. Hello. But I want to ask you, and then we can maybe wrap up a little bit.
Okay.
But you were talking about how you've been maintaining that kind of vibe since our class on Thursday, which was about 4 days ago, and a pretty high vibration. How have you been able, because I find that very tricky to maintain, especially interacting with other people. Their energy is in different places. If you watch something or if I see a picture of something that's like the result of a cruel act or something horrible, like I'm shifted. Like, how are you maintaining that?
Yes. So I guess I was just lucky this week after we had our class, and on Friday I had a hair appointment. That always makes me feel good. And got my hair retwisted. Then I did some errands. And I don't know. I don't know how I maintain that. I just literally said that yesterday to one of our class members. And Friday was real good. It was the weekend. I've always liked weekends. As a matter of fact, one of the last things I had said to Trish was, I think I'm going to change my name to the Weekend. She was like, Mom, someone already has that. But maybe that had something to do with it. But I guess I'm just feeling a little bit like caught up in my home, like you mentioned cleaning up earlier, decluttering earlier. I'm feeling like I'm caught up with that. And my husband and I went for a walk out to a new site in Spokane that he'd never been to. And I introduced him to that on Friday afternoon. And then we went out to lunch. And so in the sunshine, and it's coming to be a little bit of spring. and just having, but I meditate every single morning though. And I'm ending up on my breath work. And when I end up with breath work, I feel like I get energized to get up and meet the day. And yeah.
That's a lot of stuff, actually. So you're talking about self-care.
Yeah.
And also the discipline of doing meditations. I have been experimenting in improving my own discipline with journaling in the mornings. And I've not done it every morning. I didn't do it over the weekend. But when I'm starting out with that and also with exercise, which is part of my goals, I noticed that my energy level is my vibration. I should say vibration. My energy level is good, but my vibration is higher. And so I feel like another aspect of this is like integrity. Like it's actually been a commitment of yours for a long time to do these daily meditations. And so when you're actually sticking with that, you got your hair done, which makes all of us feel better. And you spent some quality time with your husband and did something out and about. The sun was shining. And if you were just sitting at home and it was dark and you were reading something that was not so uplift. So there are actions that you're taking that would lift you up.
Correct.
But also like an integrity with yourself about what you're committed to doing for yourself and with others, that the doing of that is going to lift your vibration.
I agree. And because you're following through with the commitment and a goal that you set for yourself. No one else is asking me to do this. So I set that goal for myself. So how am I showing up for myself? And that helps. Yeah.
Love that. And around your home, talking about doing some cleaning. We had a group of people over yesterday, and my back patio, as well as other areas, but I'll just focus on the back patio. It's actually been quite neglected. It was an area that I used to put a lot of energy into, and then I really neglected it for 2 years. And I spent every minute I had between the time I woke up and pretty much when I took a bath right before guests arrived, cleaning it, basically tidying, putting stuff away, scrubbing the carpet. Now when I go out there, it feels a bit like a breath of fresh air.
It's so nice. Yeah.
So nice. And this is how I know I want it to be.
You know what else I just remembered to answer your question was you had asked me to send the thing out about the new moon under Aries. I forgot. That is something that I thought about all weekend long because I did text it to the group and I thought, oh, it's Friday night. So it's a total eclipse somewhere, but it was cloudy in Spokane by that time. And I love the notion of what the new moon said. It is asking us to spring into action for spring. And don't worry about it. Just let it be. Just let it go. And I think that helped me to ride out our wave that we started on Thursday night in class. Now, it was another thing that contributed to me just even right now, just to feeling some good energy. So yeah, I had forgotten about that.
Beautiful. There's being in tune with like astrology is what you're talking about, or the phases of the moon and specifically, and seeing that as support. And with that level of support, the solar system, it would be easy to feel like, hey, things like are working for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I felt that. I don't know all the depths of, because we talked about how you can go in, have a degree in all these different things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And just talking about the moon, I've always been attracted like to the sea and to the moon, but I've never known a lot of stuff. But it was when I was in Nicaragua that I literally was on the beach under the full moon and meditating that I really felt like, okay, this is another support for me. And so then I came home and got that little moon chart. So I know what's happening with the moon every time. And on Insight Timer, they have moon meditations, but just so that I'm just in tune. And it's interesting to find out what each new moon brings. And it's something very positive. Like a couple months ago is the new moon Leo, and Leo is just like, get out, kick butt, and just do it. And then Aries was like, okay, I'm calling you out. Yeah, so I think that kind of got us started too.
Very nice. And maybe what we could end on, unless there's something else that you want to bring up, is calling our energy back to ourselves, which we used to do actually in our closings in class, and I've totally forgotten about. But the idea is that if you dole your energy out to people or places or things throughout the day or even the week, your energy is pretty dispersed. And it's not like we own energy, but it's like part of our energy field. And so when we call our energy back to ourselves, and I haven't done that in a long time, but I used to do it a lot actually when I was first starting to do a lot of this kind of work, and I needed it. I really felt like I needed it. I would have to close all my chakras, bring in my energy, return any energy I borrowed, and then call mine back. And when I did that, all of those things thoroughly, I felt fine afterwards. But if I didn't, I would feel a bit depleted noticeably.
Yes, yes. And I think you mentioned that in class because there are several people who are therapists, teachers, and we all give our energy away all day long. And if we don't call it back and we forget to call it back, we are depleted. And so that was one of the things that we've done in our class that I try to remember when I catch myself in like a situation with family or out in public. I'll just quietly just call my energy back to me, call my power back to me, because people will take it.
Now, how do you do that?
I just basically just what we've done in class, just say, I'm calling my energy back to me. I'm calling my energy back to me. My friend made a song for me, and it's just to the holy mystery. I call my energy back to me. And so she made that for me right in the beginning of my grief and everything. And sometimes I can play her recording, but otherwise I just call it back, just like we've done in class, and literally pull that into myself and feel it. Just like I literally can, often in the mornings, I'm wiping stuff off in one or two of my meditations. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. If we treat energy like it sticks with us, our own and other people's, then we can physically wipe it off where we feel it pooling and we don't want it there because it's somebody else's or it's a different kind of energy than what we want. And also that's what I do to call mine back is and I really have to be intentional because it's easy to be like folding laundry, calling all my energy back. And believe me, I try to multitask as much as the next person.
Yeah.
I feel like this is an area, this one thing in particular is something that I really have to keep my intention and attention on it to actually feel it be successful. And then after a moment, I'll actually start feeling energy like coming back to me. And all I do is repeat in my head, calling all my energy back to me, calling all my energy back to me over and over while I'm doing it until I feel like some has come back and then it's settled in and I'm not feeling that shift anymore.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking I need to write down to myself to breathe and to call my energy back when I'm in tough situations, because we forget that those are the two easiest things right away that we can access that will help us and help us to also know that we're not alone. So, yeah.
And to feel in control of how we're coping and dealing with stuff.
And also when we're calling our energy back, we mentioned a little bit about our stones last week, and I'll pull those into me too, just to give me some extra energy when I'm feeling depleted, like that I've given it all away. Or some people have just taken it, because some people steal your energy.
Yeah.
Without your permission. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And crystals, stones, the sun, the moon, fresh air, water, dirt, grass, trees, certain people, pussycats, puppy dogs, all kinds of things can really support that process. So thank you for bringing that up. So why don't we all just do that together real quick?
Yeah.
Anything you want to say in closing, Jocelyn?
I just remembered as we were just finishing, another thing that probably helped me over these last few days is one of our students mentioned sending gratitude and good energy and love to the mom of the little boy who was shot. And it helped me throughout this weekend to randomly send love when I thought about someone that maybe annoys me or something like that. And I just tried to send them love, or someone that I thought needed extra love. I just tried to do that, but really working on relationships that are a little bit off kilter for me personally. And I think that's helped me as well. How to stay upright. Yeah.
Very nice.
So that's it.
Okay. Thank you. It was just really great to be with you and to share about this. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending this time with me on Mediumship Sparks. If this episode resonated with you, please like it, subscribe, rate, and certainly share it with somebody else who could benefit. If you're interested in any support I might be able to provide as you navigate your spiritual path, Please feel free to check out my offerings at connectingwithnoelle.com and reach out at mediumshipsparkspodcast@gmail.com. Take good care of yourself, and I'll look forward to being with you again soon.